Hey family, it's another beautiful morning here in Washington State. The sun is out, the weather is decent right now. We'll still see how hot it gets today, but I just want to welcome you to the channel. If you're new, welcome, and if you've been here before, thank you for your support. Love and blessings. So let's get into this. Today I want to talk about, imagine that, food, okay? And I want to talk about priorities, okay? Priorities when it comes to your food preparedness, prepping food, stacking food, and just anything that relates to making and ensuring that you and your family have food in the future, right? That you continue to have the ability, no matter what crisis happens, you still continue to have the ability as the mama bear, as the papa bear, to put food on the table for your family, okay? So let's get into it. Basically what I did was I started thinking this morning. First of all, I had a few people hit me in the last couple days about food questions, things about food storage, things about food, how to go about, like they're brand new, how to go about that they're feeling overwhelmed and needed some ideas of I guess you could say, ways for them to start implementing getting food preps and how that works, right? Is it a budget? Is it a certain amount? Is it all this stuff, right? And so that got me thinking about food in general. And so what I want to do today is I brought you 13 food priorities or things centered around food that you can get started on, okay? So let's get into this. One, organize and inventory. So this is just kind of a parrot, right? I'm always saying this. We always talk about this on these channels. It's super important for you to, one, organize what you have. So that's free, okay? So stop what you're doing. Go to every single room, every single drawer, every single dresser, closet, and take a look at what you have as far as space, right? What shelving do you have? What dressers have space in them? What closets have space? Where can you implement new shelving? Where can you implement maybe another dresser or some sort of other cabinetry that you can put against a wall, in a corner, in a closet, wherever, that you would be able to utilize for preps in general, but food, okay? What does that look like for you? And then two, if you've been doing this for a while or even a little bit, and maybe you're brand new, you want to do this first, is organize. That means take every single drawer and look at it and spend a few minutes organizing it in a way that makes it where it's clean and organized. When you do that, you will be surprised how much space you have. I promise you, so many people, unless it's totally organized right now already, a lot of people, my pantry's full, I have no room. Just your kitchen pantry right now. Take everything out. Think about it for a minute, how you want to organize it. Hey, I want to have the vegetables together. I want to have the condiments together. I want to have this together. And then put it back in an organized manner, right? Label everything with your expirations with the big black Sharpie. Put it in order if you want to, and put it away in an orderly fashion. And you will be surprised, just that one thing, how much space you will get. Now, if you apply that to all the different places in the home, then you will get more space more times than not, okay? Unless you've done this several times and you've reinvented it. I'm constantly reinventing spaces, redoing things, moving things around, depending on what makes sense for you and your family and how your house is laid out. That's essentially what it comes down to, okay? And then where can I add more stuff? We just got 3 more rooms because my sister and her family, her sons moved out, right? And so that's amazing for me because now I went from, pretty full house to I have 3 new rooms now. And how do I incorporate those rooms? What were the plans for the rooms already? And then how do I bring in preparedness and making space for me to organize some stuff, and maybe moving some stuff that was around and crammed in the rest of the house to these spaces to where things are even more normalized as far as what my house looks like when you walk into it, okay? Second thing I have is budget and your shopping plan. Get those on lock, okay? And when I say budget, obviously that's what it is. You're going to budget and you're going to determine how much money you have available every month to put towards buying extra food, okay? This might only be $5 extra. That's okay. Okay. Do your budget, do your bills, do your stuff. And if you've only got the $5 extra, then you come up with a plan for that $5 every single month to buy preparedness items. Okay. But budgeting is super important. Figuring out how much money you have left over, writing out your list and prioritizing what you want to buy, and then doing that. What's the plan? Are you buying, are you only going to buy in bulk? Are you going to be taking advantage of sales only? Hey, I shop around for sales only. Are you going to employ couponing and things like that, right? Your digital codes and things like that, and going out of your way to really utilize that stuff? Are you utilizing your free boxes, free food boxes from food banks, and you're incorporating that into your plan because you need that assistance, you need that help to be able to have that extra food and stuff? I put down some other stuff. And is it a budget where, hey, maybe you only have $5, $10, $20 and employing, what's the plan for that money, in particular, right? Is it concentrating on one food source at a time? Is it only concentrating on staples, right? Like, hey, I just started, I'm going to concentrate on getting, my rice together, my beans together, my potatoes together, my big staples, and grains, and then I'm going to venture out to the side stuff, right? What is your game plan? And we're going to talk about that on one of the other ones, okay? Actually, on my list is the next one. Next one is that goes into developing your strategy, right? What is your food strategy? I've discussed this a couple times in different videos, and basically it's different ways of getting to the goal, right? For some people, you start easy. You start, hey, I'm going to get 2 weeks worth of food in my home, extra food. I'm going to make meals and I'm going to have that, right? Some people say, okay, I'm going to shoot for a month's worth. Okay. There's a few different strategies. Okay. One is I call the step up plan, which is basically you start with getting 30 days. Then once you have the 30 days, you work on 6 months. And then once you have the 6 months, you work on a year, and you're kind of doing a step up of many goals to get to where you want. And the step up is cool because it works with any amounts, right? You could do way smaller stuff. You could say, hey, I'm only going to get 2 weeks worth of food. Then I'm going to work on a month. Then I'm going to work on 3 months, right? And you can baby step it. If you've been doing this for a while, those might be much bigger, right? Hey, my goal right now is to get a year's worth of stuff. I'm working on a year's worth of stuff. And then after that, I'll work on my next year, and I'll work on my next year. Okay. Or maybe 1 year you're stacked up pretty good and you're like, this year I'm only going to concentrate on freeze dried 25, good for 25 years, long-term stockpile food. That's what I'm going to concentrate on. Or I'm only going to concentrate on MREs this year, ready to eat foods, right? Whether I'm making them or whether I'm buying them, right? What is the strategy for you getting food on the shelf? Another strategy that's one of my favorites that is kind of my go-to, and that's the 1 year strategy. That's a continuing to keep 1 year's worth of stuff in the home. That's having an inventory of everything you have, to include all the stuff that you want to have. Okay. You inventory what you have. And then when you go to the store, you figure out what your budget wise, what I'm going to buy for that week. Maybe I could do this off of sales, but I fill holes. Let's say body wash. I always use body wash, for example, but let's just say we go through a bottle a month just to make it easy. So 12 bottles is what I need for the year. Let's say I do an inventory. I have 4 bottles, right? And I need 8 more, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm not good at math, you guys. Right. And so then let's say I see body wash on sale, I go get those 8 bottles when it's on sale, right? Or maybe I don't do that, right? Maybe the budget's way smaller and I'm only buying 1 bottle at a time. My point is I have an inventory that clearly shows me how much I need of each product for a year. And then how much do I have of that? I go through from time to time, see how much I have. And then when I need an idea of what I need to spend my budget money on for preps, I go and look at that. Okay, I'm actually short body wash, or I'm short toothpaste. I'm going to go pick up another couple tubes of toothpaste. Whatever it is, right? And you have that list, that running list, and that's the goal, is to have a running year. And then maybe you work off that and make it longer, but that tends to work for us. It keeps the rotation pretty simple and not too complicated, to where I have tons and tons of food going bad. To me, a year is manageable, right? And then from there, certain things you can go outside of that and get more of, okay? But I tend to like the 1 year thing. Another one is the 2 week strategy where, hey, make a menu plan for 2 weeks, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Get those items and then just repeat, right? And just repeat and keep buying the next weeks and keep buying the next weeks, right? Most of us repeat what we're eating anyway, right? We're making the same meals in theory for the most part that our family likes, right? So we're cooking a lot of this stuff, right? And so I'll get spaghetti, 2 weeks, that's on there, make a 2 week plan, and then you can just double it, right? You go to the store to get the 2 weeks worth of food and just double everything that you get if you can, and then boom, you've got actually a month's worth, okay, of food, right? So it's a way to just slowly bolster it. Again, if you don't have that much money, okay, don't double everything, but certain things on there that you want to double up and get, okay? So there's a few strategies that people use. If you know a strategy in the chat, share that right now. Like, what works for you? Is it just hitting sales? Is it hey, you only work on 6 months? For me, I have a working pantry and then I have food in different parts of the house, right? But they're all part of a working kind of system, right? And there's movements. I'm moving stuff around. And then I have hardcore long-term food that's in buckets, that's in caches, that's in other places, right? And so for you, what is the strategy? It really depends too. How long have you been doing this? If you've been doing this for decades, you know, you have quite a bit of stuff and your budget is on a smaller, easier scale, right? You're just going out every week. Like for me, I like to just go out every week, take a look at the sales, take a look at my holes, and then fill the holes going off the sales. But from time to time, I slip. We use stuff because, again, everything for the most part, unless it's hardcore long-term, is in a rotation. And I'll slip up, we'll use everything, and then I don't have something, right? And so then I have to go out and get a little stockpile of it because I didn't get it. Or I'll learn of something else. I'll learn of a bottle of medicine, and I'll go order a couple bottles of it and get it into my preps, okay? Okay, sorry you guys, that was my phone. So 3, develop and strategize. Number 4, get your grow plan together, right? What's the schedule for growing food? This is you taking a book. This is you writing it out. What is your plan? What is your spring plan? What is your fall plan? What is your winter plan? What crops do you plan on growing? When are you supposed to plant them? When are you supposed to harvest them? What is the schedule? I'm not saying that you can't deviate from the schedule and add stuff because I'm very like on the go. As far as my garden, I'm kind of spontaneous, like, okay, I'm about to harvest something. What do I want to put in that hole? And so I'm going to be getting better at that, scheduling it out so that you can see stuff. This is great too, because you can write your notes as things happen. If a certain insect comes in, you can write down the things that you tried, what worked, what didn't, what plants had issues, which ones didn't, all types of stuff, what weather events happened. So it's almost like a journal schedule of the gardening process, right? Starting that indoor garden, that outdoor garden, getting your seeds, getting your garden stuff right. Talked about this the other day. Just it's super important to have this as part of your food priorities to give you options, okay? Number 5, I think I have on the list is develop your menus and write out your recipes. So we talk about this because of grid down. If you lose power, for some reason we don't get the internet back, or we don't get it for a period of time, and you trying to figure out what you're going to cook, not having recipes. You're used to going to Pinterest, you're used to going to TikTok, wherever it is you go, right, to get that menu, to get that recipe real quick, right? We're really good about, I just want a quick recipe, right? And that's amazing that we have that, just boom, I can get it. But if there's no power, there's no nothing, and then all of a sudden you're like, man, I really wish I had some recipes printed out or written out. So get you an old-fashioned recipe box and start writing out your favorite recipes. Another reason why I write out recipes is if you get hit by a bus, okay? And so your family will have some recipes to pull out. I don't know about you guys, but hubby, he can cook, but he absolutely has to have a recipe card, okay? So he's not comfortable. He's not just a foodie where I just cook. I openly cook. I just add. I do whatever I want. I'm very carefree with my cooking, and he's not. He's very particular. He has to have the recipe. And so this is to help to ensure that your family has what they need too. If you're down for the count, something happens to you, you're sick, you get hit by a bus, whatever, they're taken care of by having those recipes written out. And then having a menu plan. If you have menu plans written out already, even just a couple, that helps with not having to think about that so much. Also, developing your shopping plan and your preparedness items around your menu, that works. A lot of people take the sales and plan your menu off of the sales, and then so you cook your meals for the week are centered around what was on sale. What meat was on sale? That's the meat we're eating this week, right? That type of thing. And that can work for your preparedness item, for all of that stuff, for your menu planning, and you're writing out your recipes. Just start now. You don't have to feel overwhelmed like, oh man, I'm just going to go and start downloading and printing 1,000 recipes. No, what I'm saying is today, now, just start writing out. What did you make for dinner? Just write it out. If it's not something that's totally simple, right? We'll start writing stuff out, okay? Especially if you're making like I make a lot of soups and stews. Just simply write that out, okay? And let them know how you get that done, okay? Number 6 thing I have is building multiple cooking options, right? Super important in regards to food preservation, food priorities, is having the ability to cook food in all different types of crisis, right? So what is the food plan for getting food cooked if there's no power, right? You cannot use it. You don't have, maybe you have a gas stove and you're able to still use that, but what happens if it's long term and that gas is ran out? What is your plan? Do you have propane? Do you have the little camp stoves? Do you have a barbecuer? Do you have a smoker? What is the plan for cooking your food, right? If you're not able to do it in the traditional way that you do it in your home right now today, right? Maybe you're able to cook on the cook stove, or I said cook stove, on the wood stove, right? Just what are your options? And if you don't have options, you need to get those. That needs to be a priority of you having, and the fuel that goes with that, of how to cook food. Otherwise, you could do all this, and then if you haven't really prepared to be able to cook it in a different way, should the grid go down, that's gonna be a horrible situation, okay? Number 7 thing I have is secure your hunting and fishing gear, right? So, and to add to this, if you don't know how to hunt, you don't know how to fish, learn what you can now and do what you can do now, right? If you have a buddy that hunts, see if you can go on that little hunting venture. Even if they don't want to take you on a little hunting adventure, just sit down with them and have a conversation of how things work, tips, tricks. There's nothing like doing it and being out in the field and doing it. But the more you can learn, the better, okay? Fishing. Take the kids, find out the local place where you guys are allowed to go fishing. What do you need? Permits, whatever, and go fishing. Get that stuff now, because you do not know when that stuff is going to be important, okay? And it's going to aid you in being able to put food on the table, right? Get the literature, get the books. I have a huge book on just trapping and traps, how to set stuff, all types of ideas, right? Depending on what it is in your area you're trying to trap, right? What works for this, what works for that. There's skinning stuff in there, all types of stuff, right? So there's some stuff I don't know how to do, but let me tell you, I will learn, right? I'm a fast learner, okay? And so what do you have to aid you to foster that learning curve, right? You might not know how to do some things right now, but if you get some things that will help, that learning curve when you do need to do it, will be helpful, right? Because what happens is we get to a time where people want things and then you can't get them no more. You can't order them no more. You can't get them. You can't procure them. And people are wishing, that they had some stuff, right? I tell you what, there's a lot of things that when the food runs off these shelves, people are going to be panicking, and people's minds are going to think about all the other things that they could do to get food, but they're also going to be desperately regretting that they didn't get or don't have certain things simple things that they wish they had, like a fishing pole, like a basic fishing pole. That could be, a huge regret for somebody. Like, wow, I'm by this huge body of water and I don't even have a stinking fishing pole, So think it through. Think about the extra things, hunting things, fishing things, trapping things, and learning those skills now while you can, okay? So that was number 7. Number 8 is develop your ration plan. I've talked about this before on several videos. Basically, this is just you writing down and developing and thinking out how you would go about rationing food. If all of a sudden you had to ration food, what does that look like? What does that look like for the animals? What does that look like for you? Is it you know, is the food half down? Is it just measuring? Because now you guys don't do any measuring, but now it's just measuring like the actual serving sizes. What is it and what's the plan, right? What are the easy things to make that are easy to ration out, right? Soup, stews, one pot meals, right? Not these 10 different aspects of the meal that just make it way more complicated and make that meal way more expensive, hard to make, and then now you have to ration it out, okay? It's just much easier when you think about what's the rationing plan and what does it look like, and getting the things you need to prepare for that, right? Smaller bowls or measuring utensils or smaller plates, talking it through with your family so that they understand what rationing is and what that looks like. That's not going to be good. What supplements and vitamins do you have to offset, you know, possibly cutting back drastically on calories, right? So all of these aspects are important when you're thinking about continuing to be healthy in a time where you're rationing and pulling back and maybe implementing fasting. That could be part of your plan. What is your plan in this area, okay, of preparedness? Number 9 thing I have is preservation schedule. So what I like to do, and this is what works for me, is I think of 2 to 3 things that I want to preserve for the week. Not crazy. I'm not pressure canning every day. I am preserving every day though, okay? But what is your plan for preservation for the week? Maybe you have a full-time job, you don't have time, and you only have time to pressure can one item on the weekends, or preserve in general one thing on the weekends. And that's what you're going to do because you have a family, you have time, you know, you guys have other stuff to do. Pick that one thing you're going to do that weekend. Buy the stuff that you need store-bought or pull it from the garden, whatever the plan is, and preserve it, okay? But my point is, consciously make a decision to, hey, I'm going to do this, and then do it, right? When you're free willy and you're like, oh, I just want to do this, and you don't really tell yourself, you set a goal and say you're going to do it, a lot of times you just won't, you'll talk yourself out of it. There's other stuff to do, other errands, other things to do, and you're like, oh, I'll just do it later. If you get in that rotation of every weekend, I'm going to preserve something, one, you get in the mood of it, you start wanting to do it, right? You're desiring to want to do it, right? You're thinking about it more, you're putting it in the budget, so it's a deliberate budget item, and it's not just a last minute, oh, I feel like preserving pineapples, right? You actually come with a plan. Maybe this plan is, hey, for this month, I'm going to concentrate on preservation of meat. And then wherever those days are that you plan to do it, you're going to schedule out the different meats that you plan on preserving. And then you're going to move forward with that. And then maybe the next month it's veggies, or maybe it's every other week is something different. Think it through. What do you guys want to do? What's your priorities of food that you need? This goes off of the holes that you have in your own preparedness items in regards to food. It goes off of your priorities of what's the most important. Hey, I want staples, I want meat, right? What is the priority? What is the priority off of what you cook? I cook a lot of soups and stews. So for me, pressure canning that stuff makes sense because I'm a big fan of staples. You pull out some rice, some potatoes, some beans, whatever, and you pour a jar of a soup or stew. It stretches it super far and makes a huge meal, and it's stupid easy, right? And so I concentrate on preserving a lot of soups and stews. I concentrate in the fact of what can I pour over rice? What can I pour over beans? What can I pour over some potatoes, right? I do a lot of that type of easy prepping when it comes to, and I think grid down, if I had to just cook over a fire, what is the easiest thing and quickest thing for just heating up something, right? Number 10 I have is grid down food. Okay, so specifically, you need to be thinking about foods that are easy for your family to eat when there is no power, whether that's no power for 12 hours or that's no power for 2 weeks. What is the food source that you have in your house that you could cook? Now, if it's grid down, you have plenty of cooking options, you could do that. But let's take it a step further. If it's chaotic outside, it's dangerous to cook outside, it's or it's fallout from nuclear bombing, whatever, and now you're trapped inside. You basically have to stay inside. How do you cook? You might not be able to cook with propane because now you're stuck inside. You can't ventilate, right? If there's fallout outside, you can't ventilate for that little camp stove to just cook you up something or make some coffee. So you need to think about what does your family eat if you can't use your cooking source either. You can't use your alternate cooking source, or you don't have one. Now, a lot of foods that come in cans is already cooked. You can open the can, you can eat it cold, and that could be a plan. But let me tell you, baby, I don't know about all that. Okay, what's the plan for MREs? Meals that are ready to eat, meaning you open them up and they're ready to go. An MRE, when you buy it online, is about $10 now. Okay, that's one meal though. Okay, that could be stretched to 2 if you're rationing for sure, because they're full of stuff, right? I oftentimes in the military had one that took me through 2 meals, right? But to me, that's super expensive. Much easier to make MREs. My MREs I make for the day. They have a breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner. Not extensive. I try to hit at least 2,000 calories in the entire packet. And that has condiments, that has utensils, that has drinks, that has all types of stuff in it, okay? One thing, much cheaper to make your own MREs. Put it all together, vac seal it. On the outside, write your calories that are in it. Possibly you could write what's in it, but if you vac sealed it in something that's clear, you can kind of see what's in it. Maybe just write it on the front when you did it and what's the main course, like what's the dinner. Hey, it's got, there's chili, right? Whatever it is, and get your things together and making your homemade MREs. Just think about your game plan on what you could eat cold, ready to eat meals. Okay, same thing with your pressurized canned food. I love pressurized canned food because that food is cooked, thoroughly cooked. Okay, so that can of chicken or whatever it is, that ideally is cooked. It could be eaten. Okay, I tell you what, if I have some delicious turkey meat that's been pressure canned up and I have to, decide on some cold can of whatever, or this pressurized can of some turkey, if that can hasn't been compromised and it's smelling good and delicious, I'd rather eat that cold turkey than maybe that can of some soup or whatever, split pea soup, right? So think it through. Think about what your family likes. Make it fun. Make some MREs, or buy some MREs, or buy some other ready-to-eat stuff. Preserve food, and just consciously make an effort to think about what's the game plan. If one, it's grid down, okay, meaning no power. So what's your alternate cooking source, and what's your plan? And 2, if it goes further and you're now trapped inside your home and you can't really cook outside because 1, it's dangerous. People are desperate for food, and you can't cook outside because you don't want them to smell it. Can you cook indoors with those camp stoves? Absolutely, but there has to be ventilation. You have to have, that cook stove has to be somewhere next to, a window, an open door. You've got to have ventilation with that, okay? In small spurts, right? But how dangerous is that, right? Or nuclear fallout, like I said, you can't open up everything. You can't ventilate, right? And so what does that look like? So think about that, get your stuff. Number 11 thing I have is build and bury your caches, right? You need to be thinking now, and I know this is too far for some people, but you need to be thinking now about hiding food, that whether that's from the government, whether that's from marauders, whether that's from just bad people in general. You need to be thinking about burying caches of supplies in general, but importantly, food and water. Okay, you have to give yourself options if something happens. Okay, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a situation where your stuff is gone for whatever reason. There's 1,000 ways this could go down, but what have you done for your family to put a nest egg, to put some insurance basically away, to ensure that you guys have something of survival buried, hidden, away from other people that you can get your hands on later when you need it. Okay. Super important. I know some people, this is too far, it's too much. They're like, what? But get comfortable. I know it doesn't sound comfortable, but find a place in your backyard, make a cache, get a tote, put some stuff in some plastic, vac seal everything, put it in the tote, put it in a plastic bag, put it in the tote, bury it. Okay. Get a water seal bucket, put some stuff in it, vac seal it, put it in a trash bag, put it in this water seal bucket, bury it. You've got to get used to thinking about what this looks like, what it feels like. Okay. And at the end of the day, you do not have to do any of this. First of all, you don't have to do anything that I tell you. You can sit here and say I'm crazy all day long, but I promise you, that that's going to be helpful one day. One day, that could save our lives. Okay, getting in the mindset of doing that, right? Let's move on. Number 12 thing I have is food protection. So this is more of your freezers. What's the game plan if you lose power, right? Do you have solar energy for that? Do you have the things you need to be able to can that stuff? Hey, the power goes out, I'm going to start canning this stuff. But do you have the stuff needed? People be, I'll just can. But then they had an electric stove, and guess what? You weren't thinking, and that doesn't work, right? And so do you have a propane burner outside? Do you have a cook stove outside that has a big enough burner to be able to pressure can stuff, right? What's the plan for protection of your food, right? I think I had another note. Oh, what are the other things that you can do for food protection, right? Root cellars, even a basic root cellar, like digging a hole, taking a, metal trash can, burying it all the way down to its lip where there's maybe this much sticking out of the ground, and then you can put the lid on it. But that temperature in that, trash can is much cooler, and you've made a very basic root cellar. Okay. And there's all types of things and ideas like that, where you can make a basic root cellars or basic ways to keep something cooler. Even something like that in the wintertime, even in your basic states that don't get like super cold, but you might be able to keep some other stuff in there that a little bit cooler. Okay. So that's an idea if you especially don't have space, right? You don't have a lot of land where you could just make a project where, we're going to do a root cellar. That's a very quick and easy way to get stuff in the ground into some cooler temperatures, right? You got to think about, what did our ancestors do when they didn't have electricity? They didn't have these luxuries that we have. We have the luxuries, but we also have time to get the things needed so that, hey, when something happens, we can buy other luxuries to help it work out and to bolster, our survival rate, and not having to do it in the hard and, strenuous way that they had to do it. Okay. We have ways to learn things and do things and prepare so that when things get tough, it won't be as hard as it was when they did it. It will be different for us, right? But if you prepare nothing and don't get ready at all, that's a tough road. It's not going to be the same as them, but it's going to be a tough road. Okay. And then the last thing, you guys, I have number 13 is establish your own food source, right? We've talked about that before on this channel, getting chickens, getting quails, getting rabbits. A lot of these things are beneficial even if you don't plan to eat the meat, right? If you have chickens, you don't plan to eat the meat, right? They're not meat chickens, but you have eggs, you have a protein source, right? And then push comes to shove, you do have a meat source, okay? Rabbits, maybe you don't plan to eat them yourselves, but it could be bartering. Rabbits are super easy to take care of. Using their poo for your garden, which again helps during a food priority, right? And growing food. So there's aspects of keeping animals. There's some downsides though too. You have to take care of those animals. You have to be able to provide for them and have food and water for them as well. And if times are tough, that's another mouth to feed. Essentially, that's another child, okay, as part of your family that you're having to take care of, just like dogs, cats, and other animals, right? but can be very beneficial to offsetting your survival and having it as a bona fide food security. I think it's important to take a look at it and see what you're able to do, especially with the things that I mentioned. Those are able to do. People have those things in their homes, in their apartments. Okay, I know people that keep chickens and quails in their house, in their apartments. Bunny rabbits. You don't have to keep a bunch of them, right? So just think it through of what could be some options and what that animal could bring and provide for you and your family. And it gives you another option, right? Bartering options, eating options, and then of course whatever it's providing. But again, it's like anything else, you better be preparing for that said animal that's providing for you. You better be preparing to provide for them when things get hard, as far as their feed and different things that they need to be able to survive, right? And if you had to adjust, what does that look like, right? If you run out of chicken feed, how are you feeding those chickens now? Do you know the things that you could feed your chickens and that they could eat? When the day comes that there's no more chicken feed, you run out, long-term event, right? That's the type of stuff that I'm talking about, okay? But 13, establishing your own food sources is important, okay? Hopefully these 13 things helped you guys. I'm sure you guys have been talking and sharing all types of ideas in the chat. You guys always do. I love these lives just because I personally learned so much. I was already learning so much from you guys just reading comments for videos. I learn stuff every single day. So thank you for that. But if you're new to preparedness, new to prepping, new to food preservation, make sure you're paying attention to the live chat, writing down notes when you learn stuff. Afterwards, go to the comments for the videos. A lot of people don't make this time frame, but they'll go back later and then they'll leave their comments of different things, different tips and tricks. So thank you for those that are sharing your information, your wealth of knowledge, and just ensuring that we all kind of get as much information as we can to help make sure that we all make it, okay? If you've got a different food priority that I didn't mention, that you think, hey, this is a huge food priority that I think people should put on the forefront, list that, put that in the comments below. Let us know basically what your thoughts are and anything that you think that will help us as a group, okay? So I hope you guys are well. Let me know. I'm doing some changes with the channel. Obviously, I changed the music. That upset some people, but I just ran into an issue where I couldn't really find the song and the music again, and then I just was like, you know what, this isn't gonna work. I need something new. So I do have the new stuff, and that's gonna stay, the intro and the ending music. Now, changed up the thumbnail today. You guys let me know. I don't know. I'm just trying to bolster things up. I'm not sure if I'm being, shadow banned, but I do not think that YouTube is pushing my videos out anymore. I don't think they're being recommended. It's not that I'm not getting the necessary views anymore, but my ad revenue has dropped dramatically, even though I'm still getting the same amount of views. And so that tells me that my video is not being pushed out anymore, and I'm missing something in the algorithm, okay? Now, I'm here for you guys, so let me know what you guys want to talk about, what you want to hear about. I'm blessed. I feel blessed that you are here supporting me, so thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. Get your projects done, do the things, be happy, be blessed. Don't be stressed, okay? Don't be overwhelmed. Put a smile on your face and just make some goals and do them, okay? And I will see you guys on Monday in the next video. Take care. Bye.